Namaskar, welcome you all to the session 9 part 2 on building resilience, a multi-dimensional approach. In fact, this is in continuation with the last session 9 where we have discussed about social and economic resilience. Today we will be discussing on building environmental resilience. What is the environmental resilience? It refers to the capacity of the ecosystem to endure, adapt and recover from disruption like natural disasters, climate change and human induced stresses while maintaining critical ecological functions. Core areas of functions: ecosystem restoration and conservation. It involves rehabilitation of degraded environment and protection of existing natural resource to maintain biodiversity and ecological processes. Second is sustainable land use management, the planning and utilizing land resource efficiently to balance the human needs with ecological preservation, addressing challenges like urbanization and deforestation. The climate change adaptation, implementing proactive measures to minimize climate related issues and enhance the resilience of the communities and ecosystem to changing environmental conditions. Next one is why it is so important that we are talking about the environmental resilience. Number one is ecosystem services. Ecosystems provide essential life supporting services including clear air, water, soil fertility and climate regulations. Natural features like mangroves and coral reefs act as a proactive buffers mitigating storm surges and erosion, while wetlands absorb floodwaters and it reduces disaster impacts. Response to climate change. Ecosystem addresses the increasing frequency and intensity of extreme weather events such as hurricanes, floods and droughts, ensuring ecosystems remain functional. It provides support for sustainable development. It ensures that ecosystems are reasonably managed, preventing degradation and compromises long-term ecological and economic stability. Principles of environmental resilience. What is the principle? Number one is the biodiversity preservation. It maintains a wide variety of species, enhances ecosystems' ability to adapt to environmental changes and ensures stability in ecological functions. Next is system functionality. It ensures key ecological processes such as nutrient cycling, carbon sequestration and water filtration and remain intact under any stress. It strengthens the ecological balance, supporting long-term sustainability. It develops capacity for regeneration. Ecosystems' ability to bounce back after disturbances like deforestation or natural disasters ensures continuity of services such as food production and habitat provision. Next point of discussion is ecosystem restoration and conservation. Restoration. It is revitalizing degraded ecosystems by implementing measures like reforestation, soil stabilization and water body reviving to restore their functionality. Next part is conservation. Protecting existing ecosystem to maintain their natural state and prevent further degradation caused by human activities or climate change. What are the key benefits? It improves the air and water quality. It restores vegetation that filters air pollutants and wetlands that cleanses water of contaminants. It enhances biodiversity, preserves critical habitats for diverse species, ensuring ecosystems remain resilient. And third is natural disaster mitigation. It strengthens system to buffer communities against hazards like floods, landslides and storm surges. Next point to discuss is strategies for ecosystem restoration. What strategy we have to follow? Number one is afforestation and reforestation, planning and planting trees to recover forest cover, which stabilizes soil and it enhances stability of the soil, biodiversity and absorbs greenhouse gases. Next is reforestation. It is in previously forested area and helps in generating native fauna and flora. Wetland and mangrove restoration. Re-establishing native plant species and natural hydrological flows in wetland enhances water storage and filtration capabilities. Mangroves should and shield coastline from storm surges and serve as breeding ground for marine life. It develops soil rehabilitation. Techniques like adding organic matter, implementing agroforestry and using cover crops improve soil structure, fertility and water retention capacity. It helps combating desertification and restores agricultural productivity. Next point is coral reef restoration. Coral transplantation involves growing corals in nurseries before reinforcing them to degraded reefs, prompting ecosystem recovery. Next point to discuss is environmental resilience and climate risk reduction. What is the interconnection between the two? The role of the two of natural ecosystem in disaster risk reduction. How it is reducing the disaster risk? Number one is natural ecosystems such as forests, wetlands and mangroves act as a buffer against the natural disasters. Second, wetlands mitigate floods by absorbing excess water, while mangroves protect coastlines from storm surges. And the third is forests prevent landslides by stabilizing the soil and regulating water runoff, reducing risk to downstream communities. Now, second category is building synergy between conservation and risk management. Combines conservation efforts and disaster management strategies to strengthen resilience. It restores ecosystem like disaster wetlands to simultaneously enhance biodiversity and reduce disaster impacts. For example, integrating wetlands restoration into urban flood management systems. And third category is promoting nature based solutions. In short, it is called NBS. NBS like green infrastructure, reforestation and floodplain restorations are very cost effective and sustainable. The examples are urban parks acting as a flood retention zones or forest buffering against storm winds along the coastlines. NBS provides multiple benefits including carbon sequestration, enhanced biodiversity and acting as a buffer against the hurricane and cyclones. Next point to discuss is biodiversity and environmental resilience. How biodiversity creates environmental resilience? There is a linkages between the biodiversity and environmental stability. Let us try to understand how. Diverse ecosystems are more resilient to environmental shocks and stresses. Biodiversity ensures the ability of the multiple species performing essential ecological roles such as pollination and nutrient cycling. Examples are coral reefs with diverse marine life recover faster from bleaching events. Second category is protecting endangered species and their habitats. Designate protected habitats, areas and wildlife corridors to ensure species survival. It focuses on conservation of critical habitats that sustain ecosystem functions such as wetlands and forests. For example, we can say protecting Amazon rainforest to sustain global carbon storage and biodiversity. Next category is integrating biodiversity in climate adaptation plans. Climate adaptation strengthens and the strategy should be prioritizing biodiversity to enhance ecological resilience, promoting biodiversity friendly practices in agriculture such as agroforestry to sustain habitats and food security. For example, we can say integrating pollinator habitats into farming system to increase crop resilience. Next point to discuss is water resource management and environmental resilience. All these are adding to environmental resilience. Water resource management, restoring wetlands for the climate adaptation, restoring wetlands, rehabilitate degraded watersheds to regulate water flow and improve groundwater recharge. Use community-led initiatives to plant vegetation that stabilizes the soil and reduces the runoff. For example, watershed projects in India increasing water availability in arid zones. Next category is integrated water resource management. It promotes holistic water management that balances the ecological, social and economic needs. It coordinates across sectors, agriculture, industries, households to prevent over extraction. Third category is sustainable groundwater management. Implement policies to regulate groundwater extraction and prevent depletion. It encourages rainwater harvesting and recharge system to replenish the aquifers. For example, artificial recharge wells restoring groundwater levels in Rajasthan. Next category is reducing water pollution for the ecosystem health. Enforce strict regulations to control industrial discharge, agricultural runoff and domestic waste. Promote eco-friendly agricultural practices to minimize pesticides and fertilizer contamination. For example, cleaning initiatives for Ganga improves biodiversity and also having improved the water quality. Next category is water resilient infrastructure. Investment in infrastructure like reservoirs, check dams and canals helps to manage water resource suitably. Design urban stormwater system, prevents flooding and improve water availability. Next point to discuss, enhancing urban environmental resilience. Incorporating green infrastructure in urban planning. Under this, build green roofs, rain gardens and permeable pavements to manage urban storm water. Next point is reduce urban heat islands and improve air quality with urban forests and green belts. For example, green roofs in New York City has reduced energy cost and flood risk, creating climate resilient city. Integrate climate adaptation measures such as flood zoning and heat resistant buildings. Promote renewable energy sources to reduce urban carbon footprint. Sustainable waste management system in the urban areas. Develop recycling programs and waste to energy system to minimize landfill usage. Encourage community participation in waste segregation and reduction initiatives. Transport systems and environmental health. Invest in the sustainable public transport, cycling lanes and pedestrian zones to reduce emissions. Promote electric and low emission vehicles through incentives and changing infrastructure. For example, Curitiba, Brazil, known for its efficient, eco-friendly public transport system. Next point, community resilience in urban areas. How it can be created? By educating urban communities on climate risk and sustainable practices, involving the residents in urban planning projects and neighborhood resilience planning. For example, community driven tree planting initiatives in Nairobi, Kenya has given a very good and positive result. Next point to discuss is sustainable land use management. Sustainable land use is very vital for balancing development and conservation. Under this, preserving ecosystems is a very necessity. The strategy include agroforestry, which integrates trees into farming system to improve the soil health and biodiversity. Community involvement strengthens land management. Now, let us come to discuss climate change adaptation strategies. Adapting to climate change requires multifaceted approaches. Number 1 is infrastructure adaptation. Number 2 is climate smart agriculture. Number 3 is water resource management. And second category is community based initiatives are critical. For that, we need to go for training locals to adapt adaptive practices, ensuring long-term sustainability. Now, community investment in building resilience. We need to go for huge investment in communities for building resilience by participatory conservation that empowers locals to manage ecosystems suitably. Education and awareness are the keys providing training programs, helping the communities understand the benefits of sustainable practices, and engaging indigenous knowledge to enhance the effectiveness of conservation practices. Now, next point to discuss is nature based solutions in urban areas. How nature based solution, that is called NBS, provides sustainable solution to urban areas. We go for the green roofs and rain gardens, then we go for urban forests and parks. A case study we can discuss about Singapore, which is having the vertical gardens and green architecture. Copenhagen's flood management integrated into the public park system in the city. Next point to discuss, how integrating environmental resilience into the policies. The government policy must mainstream resilience that include ecosystem services to national planning, strengthening land use regulations to prevent unchecked development. There are certain success stories. Number 1, Germany's renewable energy policies incentive eco-friendly practices. Number 2, participatory practices in Nepal aligns conservation with community needs. Then what is the way forward? Way forward to resilience involves number 1, scaling up the nature based solutions. Number 2, strengthening policies. Number 3, community centric approaches. Number 4 is leveraging technology and finances. With this, we are moving towards the closing of the session, but prior to that, let us discuss the key points, that is called summary, what we have discussed today. Number 1, the key principles like biodiversity preservation and system functionality, strategies for restoration, conservation, sustainable land use and climate adaptation, role of policies, technology and community engagement in driving resilience. Moving forward, our collective efforts must focus on implementing these strategies to create a sustainable future for both people and nature. Thank you very much. Meeting you next. Thank you. Namaskar.